between China and the US. So what this means in essence is that there's more, China imports more to the US than the US imports more to China. And so we've also seen that the global manufacturing hub has shifted from the West to Asia, and China has been able to adopt cost-effective methods in production of steel and aluminum, which has left the rural parts of America largely unemployed. So in effect of this, the US as a result imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from China, and in retaliation, China imposed import tariffs on pork, fruits and nuts from the US. So now, global trade currently estimated at 21 trillion naira. It's very important as it guarantees output, and output also guarantees jobs. But at the moment, we're seeing the two-legged economies at war. Why? Because the US is trying to reduce or bring down its unemployment figures, while China wants to kickstart its economy. So, however, we also need to understand that there's a wider implication of this trade war. So in effect, in the long run, we might end up seeing an increase in the cost of goods. We can also see it will also hit business confidence. It will also have a negative impact on investment decisions. It will also affect diplomatic ties, and at the end of the day, it will lead to a reduction or a fall in global economic performance, which was forecast to grow by 3% in 2018. So all in all, it's going to have a negative impact on global economic growth.
So what will be the direct effect of this conflict on Nigeria?
Okay, so now we know that Nigeria currently 40% Nigeria's output currently accounts for 40% of its GDP, and we know that total GDP currently is at approximately $1 trillion. So we're seeing that amounts of trading is not so much in Nigeria. But however, we should also note that recently, that's March 21st, we saw that Nigeria withdrew from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and then one begins to wonder, is Nigeria moving towards the trying to adopt protectionism, or are we trying to adopt open trade method? So it's best for us as Nigeria and as a country to come together and put our acts together, because we will benefit more from an open trade, first off with Africa, before we then start to think about it globally. But we need to understand that we are going to benefit from an open global trade. So we need to, definitely, as I said before, we need to get our act together. In the short run, though, we will benefit from this trade conflict. But however, we need to understand that in trade wars, nobody wins. So at the end of the day, it might have an adverse effect for us.
Yeah. So most stock markets have fallen sharply since the trade war started. Is the Nigerian stock market insulated? And if so, how?
Okay, so currently we need to understand that our stock market is at a premature stage. And what does this mean? It means that as a result, whatever happens to our economy is not well integrated with our stock market. So Nigerian stock market is still largely dependent on corporate earnings and forex availability to corporates. So for now, we do not expect to see any effect on our stock market for now. So we definitely will be insulated. But then we should also think about it in this aspect. If we have over 60% of foreign investments in Nigeria, and then we will see a fall in global stock market, it creates an opportunity or an advantage for these foreign investors, as they would want to pull out of the Nigerian stock market and then invest in global markets. So we might see it have an adverse effect on the NSE in the long run. But for now, Nigeria is insulated, and Nigerian stock market is insulated.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Pamela. Pamela Basiduk is one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company here in Lagos. We move on now to global oil market. Prices inched up today as rising Russia output and expectations of a reduction in Saudi Arabian crude prices were offset by a potential slowdown in U.S. production. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $63.13 a barrel, up 11 cents from their previous settlement. Brent crude futures rose to $67.80 per barrel, up 16 cents after falling by 2.5% on Monday. This came amid rising supplies. Top producer Russia pumped 10.97 million barrels per day of crude in March, up from 10.95 million barrels in February, and 11-month high. And to precious metal market, gold prices eased today after gaining more than 1% in the previous session, even as a sell-off in global equities amid concerns over a trade war between China and the United States continue to support the safe haven metal. Spot gold was down 0.2% at $1,338 per ounce. It climbed 1.3% on Monday in its biggest one-day percentage gain in a week. U.S. gold futures eased 0.3% to $1,342 an ounce. Gold is down most likely due to Chinese investors getting out of their positions ahead of holidays on Thursday and Friday. And a total of 22 major companies from 13 countries and regions have signed contracts to take part in the first China International Import-Export slated for November in Shanghai. International giants such as Johnson & Johnson, Philips, Nokia and Whirlpool were among the exhibitors. Let's see this.
More than 1,600 enterprises from about 120 countries and regions have applied to take part in the exhibition. Over 600 have already signed contracts. Fred Jolson, head of international commerce operations at Arla Foods, said the event will benefit his company and everyone who trades with China.
For everybody who wants to do trade with China, this is perhaps going to be a landmark, like, a new step for really improving the trade between companies like us and our partners in China.
Organizers say they will take action to protect the exhibitors' intellectual property rights.
We will reach an agreement with the exhibitors about the rights and obligations of IPR protection. We will also remind the participating enterprises to ensure that their products will not violate the intellectual property rights of others. There will be an inspection of intellectual property before the exhibition to see if their products have IPR in China, so that they will be well protected by relevant laws. We will also establish a service center to take care of IPR complaints and disputes during the expo.
As a firm supporter of free trade, China has now been following a policy of its opening up for 40 years.
And after the break, International Fund for Agriculture in Angola to sign a deal on investing in rural communities. Details in a moment. Do stay with us.